My name is Pittenger. Our world and its environment are what provide each and every one of us with life and protection. But have you ever wondered who is working to protect our environment? The World Wildlife Fund, that's who. The World Wildlife Fund organization is a group of people who are determined to protect our world's most endangered and important species and the environment that we all need in order to survive. Today, I would like to inform you about the environmental conservation organization called the World Wildlife Fund. This organization works to protect endangered species, preserve conservation areas, and works to reduce climate change. First, I will tell you how the World Wildlife Fund works to protect endangered species. According to Saving the Animals, the World Wildlife Fund Book of Conservation, the World Wildlife Fund uses conservation science to help find solutions to protect endangered species. The World Wildlife Fund is working to protect endangered animals because varied ecosystems are dependent on the survival of their animals. Ecosystems are extremely important to the World Wildlife Fund because they are what provide the basis for human life and survival, such as food, water, air, and medicines. According to endangered species, habitats, life cycles, food chains, and threats, two of the most important endangered animals of the World Wildlife Fund are the tigers and the giant pandas. The World Wildlife Fund works to protect animals such as the tigers that have as few as 3,200 left in the world. The tigers are majorly threatened on behalf of habitat loss and poaching. The World Wildlife Fund focuses their efforts on educating the public on these threats and the locals on the laws against deforestation and poaching. In China, the giant panda is also being majorly threatened on behalf of habitat loss and poaching. Currently, the giant panda is the most endangered animal in the world. The World Wildlife Fund has helped save many pandas, but is still working to save many more to get these pandas off the endangered species lists. Next, I will discuss how the World Wildlife Fund helps people preserve some of the world's most important yet endangered areas. According to what we do protecting the future of nature, the World Wildlife Fund works to help preserve 19 of the world's most endangered places. The World Wildlife Fund has created a project called the WWF Global 200, which is determined to preserve each of these 19 locations in the next 50 years. This project is called WWF Global 200, and the World Wildlife Fund is determined to have all 19 places preserved in the next 50 years. These locations have been chosen depending on the diversity of the life they support. According to marine fish farming, one of the 19 conservation areas the World Wildlife Fund is working to protect is the Coral Triangle. These coral reefs are one of the most diverse environments in the world. Coral reefs are home to 3,000 species of fish, which feed many larger creatures such as sea turtles and sharks. The area in which these coral reefs are found support 120 million people. It is reasons as these that the World Wildlife Fund works to preserve them. Another priority place the World Wildlife Fund is working to protect is the Arctic. The Arctic is one of the world's most biologically productive environments. The WWF Global 200 is fighting for protection against overfishing, climate change, toxic pollution, and oil and gas explorations. Next, I will discuss how the World Wildlife Fund is working to reduce climate change. According to Wildlife Crisis, the World Wildlife Fund is not only concerned with protecting the Earth and its inhabitants, but also the climate that these inhabitants and species need to survive. The World Wildlife Fund is working with the U.S. Congress to help reduce greenhouse gases by 80% by 2050. In the last 20 years, the climate has changed drastically and has posed a new threat for the environment to overcome. Deforestation is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions. This has happened on behalf of logging and conservation from forest to agricultural land. I hope that you now have a better idea of what the World Wildlife Fund does to help the world. In conclusion, I have explained to you what the World Wildlife Fund is all about. This fund works to protect endangered species that are struggling to survive preserve conservation areas to protect habitats that the species inhabited, and by reducing climate change that threatens the world and its inhabitants. As you can see, the World Wildlife Fund is an organization that is determined to help our world and everyone in it by preserving the animals and the areas that are all so important to each and everyone's survival.